guys, it is Reed. Welcome back to another tutorial. Today we have a fantastic move, one of my favorite moves that I'm teaching so far, one that I use often enough. We are going to be going over the spread pass. So this is the second pass that I'm teaching on the channel, second to the bluff pass. I really love this move, very versatile, very well hidden, and there's a lot of nice subtleties that you can add to this move to make it look really convincing. It's also quite easy, especially in terms of a pass. It's not too difficult. I just want to take a moment to thank you guys, all the new subscribers, welcome. Thank you for 376, I think we're at the moment that I'm filming this video. Feels great, this channel's been growing really quickly and I've been really enjoying the content I've been putting out. Thanks for all the great comments and all the support. So let's not take too long with this intro. I think many of us know this move. This is a great control. It can be used as a top control, a bottom control. Spectators can take out the card, sign the card. It's great control. Without further ado, let's jump into the spread pass tutorial. All right, time for a quick demonstration on the spread pass. We'll have any card selected, let's say the 2 of clubs. All right, and we'll lose that card right into the middle of the deck. But just like that, it'll actually jump right back to the top of the deck. All right, time for some exposure on the spread pass. So we'll have any card selected, let's say the 2 of spades, okay? And we'll square up the pack. Square it up just like that. And you'll actually see how the 2 of spades has been controlled to the top. All right, time for the breakdown. So the spread pass is really not too difficult. It just takes a bit of practice to get the kind of main hand motions, and then you work on the angles and the cover, and you're good to go. First thing is we want to get a spread. Now the best kind of spread for a spread pass is a nice even spread, so it's straight, okay? You don't really want to do a curved spread. That's going to make your life more difficult. So definitely make sure that spread is nice and even, and spread it as wide as you can. That's one thing I always like to do. The wider it is in this hand, the more cover you're going to get when you go to do the actual move. So now we need a card selected, okay? So any card can be selected, anyone's possible. But there's one thing that you want to ensure, okay? You want to make sure that the card they select, you then kind of move so it's right over the left hand, right? So that you have a big spread in the right hand and the card's here, okay? So what I mean is if the card is over here, right, you don't want to do this. So you have this long spread in this hand and a small packet here. If they pick a card that's near the top, right, like this one here, then you're gonna move it over just before you do the flip. So I'll kind of go into some ways to kind of make sure the card's where you want it to be. But most people are gonna choose one kind of in the middle of your spread, and that's a good spot. Because once they choose one, if they choose this one, it's pretty easy to, you know, get it to where you need it to be and have a lot of cover in this hand. So spread length, like I said, as long as you can, and then they're gonna choose a card, okay? Once they've chosen that, you're gonna remove this pack, okay? You're just kind of, you know, gripping the spread normally as you would. 3 fingers underneath, just reaching out as far as you can, thumb on top. This grip, same thing, exactly how you'd be holding a spread. And you're gonna square up this pack, okay? It's important to have this nice and square because that's gonna make the kind of pass part a little bit easier. Then you're gonna kick this card off with a thumb and use this part of the spread to flip it over. Okay, at this point it's really nice. You can even hand out that card, you can give it to them, you can have them sign it, whatever you need to do, and then they'll replace the card back where they took it. Now a nice little touch is you can square up the pack and then kind of have them put it wherever they want. You say, all right, just call stop, and they call stop, and you kind of lift up here and you say, all right, put your card back there. You could also say, you know, put your card in halfway, and then they'll kind of put it in like this. And then you can control it and say, all right, we'll see it one more time before I put it in the middle. All these ideas, you basically need to end up in this position again. My preferred way is I'll have the card selected, and wherever they select it from, I'll kind of hold this position, okay? And then they'll put it back and we're gonna flip it face down. Now this is where we're gonna execute the pass. There's a couple things to pay attention to. So first, we're not gonna come directly over top of this pack. We're gonna be moved forward a little bit, okay? What that's gonna do is give us a bit of cover. We're not gonna be like this. We're not gonna be straight because then you'll see this motion underneath. We're gonna have the cards tilted forward to cover the flash at the front, okay? Now, if you're too far back, it'll also flash at the back. So you wanna be kind of here. So from the side, you can see I am offset probably a ½ inch, but then from the top view, if you get your kind of angles right, you can see that pack's pretty much invisible. And that's kind of what you're going for. So normally when you're squaring, you're just pushing these cards on top and you're squaring like that. In this case, we're mimicking that action, but these hands are dropping underneath and kicking the pack out. So here's the mechanics on that. We're holding this in a regular dealer's grip and then we're clamping down with the pinky and ring finger, and that's gonna cause this pack to rotate. We want it to rotate so it's basically vertical. So as you square, the second you have that cover, you can pull this down like this. Okay, so now you're kind of in this position. You're gonna wanna curl the index finger here, and that's what's gonna allow you to push the packet outwards, okay? So from underneath, right, watch, I clip with the fingers, and then I push with the index, okay? And this all happens while this hand is squaring as well. So then you kind of end up in this position. Now, this is a nice long spread, you'll have lots of cover, but you don't need to push this packet all the way to the end of the spread, right? So what you're doing is you're pushing this pack until it's about vertical, or until it hits these fingers on the right hand, and that's kind of your spot. These are also closing, right, and squaring up. So that's essentially gonna put the end of this packet near the end of this packet. So these ends are gonna be near each other. So I'll go over that again. Right, we're clipping down with the fingers, pushing across with the index while we square, and you can see how these two corners, or these two edges, the long edges here, have met. That's what we want. Now, the cover is going to come from the right hand here, okay? We're basically in this position. We're in a bit of a pass kind of grip already. This hand is going to be over top, and it's essentially just following this packet all the way on top for the square up. One more time, we're going to spread nice and straight. We're gonna get the card. We want the card to be closer to the left hand so that we can kind of square up this pack, leave this pack in the right hand nice and long, and then we're gonna flip. We show that card and we flip it back again. And we bring this packet a little bit ahead, and we tilt the bet down a little bit. I like to, not kind of come together and go like this. I like to have this hand tilted down a little bit, and then I just come straight on top. So you don't see this kind of motion. It's down and you just bring it on top, right? It looks normal. Okay, from underneath the exposed view, I'm clipping down with these fingers, pulling down. So this is fingers 2, 3, and 4. Well, the index curls back here to give it some leverage, okay? One thing that's important, these hands are gonna be curled and then they're gonna open up to accept this packet, okay? That's one thing I forgot to mention. So as you push, these hands open to accept, okay? And then you've squared up the top pack. You're gonna be able to clip with the thumb and the index now. That's kind of the how you're holding it. Whereas this packet, you're concealing in a sort of palm. Now this packet is almost balancing here against the index. You're just pushing it against the deck, and then you're steering it over top. And I'll go into a bunch of subtleties on how to hide that and make it look natural in a second. That's a lot that's happening at once in this bottom motion, but again, we're clipping while this is squaring, okay? The right hand fingers are opening up as this kicks across, okay? It's accepting this card, it's concealing it in almost like a palm sort of position, and then it's coming over top and squaring, okay? That's the very basic handling. We'll go into more details now in the subtleties and other sections. So in terms of some subtleties, the one thing that's important is to kick that deck back a little bit. You can kick it back in your hand with the index finger, that's another option. So as you come over normally and just kick it back a little bit, I prefer to take out that bit of motion and just kind of bring this deck a little bit forward. I think it looks nice because it kind of just looks like you're squaring it up normally. You can't even tell that I'm forward a little bit on that, right? And making sure you tilt down. You saw in the last one I flashed a little bit because I didn't really have the pack turned down very much. Another thing that really helps cover the spread pass is a slight tilt to the left. So I always kind of employ that. It's because of this cover hand, right? Straight on, you can see that pack a little bit. So you always need a slight left sort of tilt. Like it can literally be straight on with just this hand tilted in. That's enough, right? But I always like to do, as I'm bringing the hands together, I'll tilt the body a little bit, kind of like that. You can see how important it is to have that deck forward a little bit and have it down. That's really how you cover that flash at the front to get it to look really clean like that. The next subtlety is going to be a riffle. That's really what's going to cover the square up, okay? So we come here, we do the pass, and then as this hand comes over top, right, the packs aren't even squared yet, but you're gripping this bottom and you're just starting to riffle through. It's often going to be pretty messy, right? So it's not going to be a nice clean riffle, but that's okay because we've just squared up the pack, right? So that's kind of how it looks. Okay, I'll do that again. So you come in, okay, you come over top, and then this thumb jumps to the back, these fingers jump to the front, this thumb in the left hand pushes down on the deck to get a little bit of pressure as you riffle, right? So that really, really covers and makes this seem like a justifiable natural motion, as you can see. You can also, kind of do a square up instead. You can kind of just come like that, which kind of helps you execute the pass. Then you need to square up the deck anyway, right? Because it's going to be in a bit of a mess, so it kind of makes sense. And that also looks very nice. There are lots of options in terms of subtleties. I definitely would recommend you use some kind of subtlety as you're doing the square up, and that'll really help hide it, especially through those windows of your hand. Because you don't want to have your hand, rock solid and closed. You want to have it a little bit loose and having those subtleties can really help cover that. So in terms of body language, as always, you want to be natural with this move. Some of those subtleties really help you remain natural. Smoothness is very important with this control, making it look like one fluid motion that you're just closing up the pack and kind of riffling or closing up the pack, right? And kind of squaring is really important. You know, make sure all of those things are taken into account. As with most sleights, you want to be confident, have your eyes up. You know, you don't need to grill your hands when you do this because all you're doing is squaring up the deck, right? That's all it should appear. So if you're just, you know, closing a spread like this, you know, you don't put much effort into it, you have your eyes up. So that's kind of how I try to do my spread pass too, right? You know, if I was squaring the deck, I'd just kind of do something like this. So when I do the spread pass, same idea, I'll just come here, something pretty casual, pretty laid back, you know, relaxed and very fluid. That's the biggest thing with this. It's a nice fluid motion with this pass, okay? And again, you can see if I'm really not focused on tilting down a little bit, you definitely see that pack flash. That's probably the biggest spot to flash, you can see, but also turning to the left really can help cover that because you get this hand that juts out and covers. All right, so in terms of some uses and other ideas, I got quite a few on the spread pass. Spread pass is a very neat move, a very cool move, so it's got a lot of little ideas. So the first one is a little bit of a subtlety you can add if you don't like either of the other subtleties I've given you when you're squaring up, and it kind of looks like that. So what you're going to do is you're going to execute the pass, and then as you come here, you have these cards kind of in palm. So what you can do is as you bring over, you just pull back on those cards, right? You can see I've pulled them back, and then you let them sort of fall forward. Now the reason I don't love this is I feel like it's a little bit unnatural, like kind of, you know, what are you doing? It just kind of looks like a flourishy thing, so it is okay, and it does really help hide the move, as you can tell. So another one you can do is a dribble, right? You come in, you do the pass, and you dribble cards on top. This one's a little more difficult because you're going to have a pretty messy deck to dribble, so it's not always going to be super clean, but it is kind of nice. You know, the dribble always makes the cards feel loose, like you don't have much control over them. So that's another really nice option to cover that pass motion. You can also control a card very easily to the bottom with the spread pass. So if you do this method, it's going to control it right to the top of the deck, okay? But to control it to the bottom, all you have to do, instead of the selected card being in the left hand and flipping it, you're gonna just keep it in the right hand at the end of the spread, right? So now I say ace of hearts, you got that? Same exact mechanics, I execute the spread pass, but now it ends up on the bottom. So how to do this with a card that's close to the top or the bottom of the deck? You'll always have those people who pick a card right near the top or right near the bottom. Now with the bottom, it's not so bad, right? If they pick one of the last couple of cards, it's pretty easy to do this, and now you have a very small packet that you need to pass. And you'll see it's really not too hard, not much of a problem. If the card is too close to the top, this is when you run into a little bit of an issue. It can be done, right, with like 5 cards in this hand, but you lose all that cover. There is this nice idea of if they have a card near the top or the bottom, you just have them take it out, look at it, and then you have them replace it in a different point, right? It's really that easy. I like the idea of having them put it in anywhere they want halfway, and then you say, all right, we'll look at it one more time, you see that's your card, and then you go and do the pass. That's a really nice idea. Or you simply just have them say stop wherever they want, and you put it back anywhere you want. So that's really what you do if it's too close to the top or the bottom. It's really simple to adjust as well. Now adjusting the spread length, I talked about that problem where if you're spread like this and they pick a card way up here, you know, you want to adjust to move that card down to this hand, so you're not left with only a couple of cards here or a bunch here and a spread here. You always want, you know, the spread in the right hand. Obviously, if it's near the bottom, it's pretty easy. You know, you're in a good spot. If it's near the middle, it's pretty easy to kind of shift that card to where you need to be. So if it's in the middle, like say this one, I usually like to up jog it, but then I'll keep kind of spreading and push it over till it's in that spot that I need it to be, and I still have a long pack here. Whereas if it's way up near the top, like up here, what I like to do is I'll up jog it, square this hand, and then you can just kind of spread more with these fingers by just pushing them out and getting as much cover as you can, and then you come flip it and you're good to go. Or you can just kind of up jog it and spread it down a little bit and then flip it. So you do want to kind of adjust your spread length so you have a good long chunk here, but it's pretty easy to do. As they select a card, you just kind of push these fingers out and you'll get a good spread. And remember, with this you can have the cards signed and taken away, which is really nice. I would use it as more of a top control in that case because it doesn't make a lot of sense to have them sign it and then put it back at the top here, right? You'd have them put it here if they were going to sign it, okay? So that's just one thing to keep in mind. All right, guys, that is it for the spread pass video. I hope you liked that video. That was a lot of fun to make. One of my favorite controls. There's a lot of little subtleties and nuances, so pick the one you like, especially for the moment to cover the pass. You know, focus on that angle. As you can see, it's tricky to get the right amount of tilt and the right sort of offset as you do the pass, right? You remember you want to have this spread a little bit ahead. So these are some things you have to play around with in the mirror. A quick little tip that I thought of, you can kind of do a little bit of a rocking motion with the hands. You don't want to do it too much, and I don't love it because it's not super natural to go like that, but it does really cover passes when you kind of go like this. If you're going to do anything, I just say, you know, you're tilting the spread down, you're coming, you're doing the pass, and then you're flicking up like that. It was just very tiny, and it'll just kind of blur the moment where the pass happens, right? And it's just a little nice little idea. Another little thing you can cover with if you're really struggling. But I think the square up or the riffle is my favorite method, and I think those all really cover nicely and kind of breaks up the motion of the pass. So practice that, practice all the details. I know this whole action where you're kicking out, pushing across into this hand can be a little tricky. It's a lot of things working at once. Practice that move. It's a lot of fun to do. Go out and try it. If you need any tips, feel free to DM me on Instagram, send me an email. I'm always here to help. Like always though, please don't forget to subscribe, and I will catch you in the next video.